How do you buy a property from the county in one day? That is the topic today. It's a very exciting topic because we deal with foreclosures, wholesaling, fix and flip, and we have an extensive history in tax, lien, and deed investing. So today's video is going to be about how to buy property within one day from the county and how does that work. I am Dustin.
I'm Josh.
I'm Corey.
We're the Wholesaling Daily Show, coming at you 5 days a week, bringing you information on our journey as we go and try to do $1 million in deals this year through wholesaling, fixing and flipping, hitting up tax deed and lien auctions as well. So for those of you who are just tuning in and watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below and the like button, as we're always doing great content and giving away some cool stuff while we're at it. So this is a really fun topic to talk about. And with tax lien and deed investing, here's the contrast. When you're doing wholesaling and fixing and flipping, it's fairly black and white. You're generally dealing in your own backyard, in your own city, and you know, like fixing and flipping and wholesaling is fairly straightforward. You're getting a property under contract and you're either sending it to your buyer's list and having people come in and you take a percentage or your wholesale fee, and fixing and flipping, obviously straightforward too. And we like to play with tax liens and deeds because it's a nice addition to what you're doing in your business. And what we love about tax lien and deed investing is A, you can get started for very little money, and B, there's this thing called over-the-counter tax deeds. And we talk about this on our other videos in tax lien and deed investing, but I want to kind of share it with the folks who are also doing wholesaling so that you can kind of add this to your arsenal and add some pretty good deals if you know what you're doing and how to do it. So how do you buy property from the county inventory? So here's the thing with what we call over-the-counter tax deeds is there's a lot of junk. A lot of people even say that you can't even do it. However, that's not true. The problem is that people aren't willing to kind of roll up their sleeves and sort through all of the dirt to find the diamonds in this business. All over the U.S. right now, in the tax deed counties, which is about 1,500 counties are tax deed counties, there are a percentage of those counties that have leftover property from their tax deed auction. So basically that means that they did a tax deed auction and they maybe had X amount of people come and Y amount of properties. And the people who bid didn't buy all of the properties from the county. So the beautiful thing about that is all of those properties go into basically the county inventory, and you can go and buy those things for minimum bid, which means there's nobody else that is there to bid against you. One of the first over-the-counter auction experiences I had was I ended up calling a county in Minnesota, and they had like 30 properties left over. And they sent me the list of the properties and started researching those and narrowed it down to like 15 properties that were very, very valuable. So my friend and I hopped on a plane. We flew to Minnesota, and we ended up buying, I think it was 8 properties. And they were all properties ranging from $50 to $500 for city lots, like properties that you could build on. Now, they weren't worth a ton of money, but you could pick them up for $50 to $500 and they were worth a few $1,000s. And I think we got well over like $20,000 worth of real estate for, I think it was just a couple $1,000s. So those types of deals are out there, but you have to be able to take a little bit of time and go to, say the website Tax Lien Certificate School and figure out which counties are the deed states and call the county and you ask them this question. First, you call the county and you say, what happens to the tax deeds that don't sell at the tax deed sale? And they're either going to say A, well, we keep those for the next sale, or B, well, they go into our inventory and they're currently available for purchase. So you're going to want to call the county and get to the tax assessor department and find that out. From there, you get them to send you the list, and you start combing through it. And it's going to be mostly junk, but there is going to be diamonds in the rough. And for people who don't have a lot of money, this is a solution that can help you get into real estate. And if you call like 10 or 20 or 30 counties in one day, you'll be able to find some property, and you might even be able to buy it that day. It's not out of the question. Over the years, we have seen people do it. Josh, do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, I mean, you can find tons and tons of stuff right now at this very moment. You're probably going to mostly find land, and so you want to check the records. Make sure before you buy a piece of land that it doesn't have a whole bunch of hazardous stuff on it. There's not any issues. If you can't build on it, then it's probably not going to be as valuable as if you could build on it. So you just got to take all these things into account, and also make sure that if you are going to buy something over the counter, have a look and see what the total back taxes are, because there might be some of these over-the-counter stuff that maybe you could buy a year, for $50, but there might be 12 years of back taxes on it that would need to get settled before you get the deed, which could then be higher than the value of the piece of land. So when you're combing through those, yeah, take a look, especially when you're dealing with older ones, because you might find an over-the-counter lien from 2005, and then 14 years of back taxes that have been sitting there and accruing a whole bunch of interest. So just make sure you check that too. But newer stuff is always going to be better. If you could find something within the last 5 years, that's probably great versus something that's been sitting. If you buy a house that's been sitting for 15, 20 years, it's probably going to be a teardown. But there's tons and tons and tons of incredible lots out there. We found some that are just empty lots next to churches or something. You could sell it for parking, things like that. Pick those up for really cheap, and you can do those. Those are some great ones. And probably focusing on those counties that are not the biggest in the state. Maybe something that's got a population of somewhere between 50 to 150,000, versus focusing on the massive counties where you're gonna have tons of competition. Those are gonna be some great tips that are helpful too.
Nice. That reminds me, we were looking at this one property that we purchased, and it was a lot in town, and it was actually one that we bought for $50. However, there was a $5,000 city lien on the property. So we were at a county tax deed sale, or the over-the-counter tax deed list, but the city had done some work. They'd replaced the sidewalk or something, but there was a $5,000 city lien. So we actually went down to City Hall and talked to one of the people in charge, and we made them an offer. We said, hey, if you remove this lien, we'll buy the property and we'll get it back on your tax roll. And they removed the lien, and that lien was removed. So definitely kind of think outside the box on that stuff, and don't be afraid to ask. And that could be why some of these properties are overlooked, is maybe they have a ton of outstanding taxes with the city or with the county, and maybe you can negotiate with them to get a deal. Like, it could be sitting in there because it's has way too much in outstanding taxes that are due, and maybe you can go and negotiate that off just to get it back on the tax roll and be creative about this. So
yeah, it never hurts to ask.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. So it's that time of day, and here's what we need you to do right now. If you have a question about real estate investing, tax liens and deeds, fix and flips, wholesaling, go ahead and ask us a question below, and you'll be entered to win one of these nice modern REI shirts, which I'm sporting the V-neck today. Very, very comfortable. Josh has one. Multiple colors. If you're listening on the podcast, it's pretty easy. Just write a review. You'll be entered. Or head over to YouTube and ask a question. You'll get your question answered, and you'll be entered in a draw for one of these cool shirts. And speaking of tax deed auctions, we actually have a live tax deed auction training coming up. We're going to be going down to a tax deed auction in Arkansas, where we purchased a $75,000 operating business for $6,100 that pays us $1,000 per month. So we're going to be going to bid for ourselves, but we also bring people who want to learn how to do it, like yourself, and show you how to do it. It's the difference between a real estate seminar and this is you're actually out there doing it. You can bring money to bid, and many of the people who attend the trip also get property, which is pretty darn cool. So if you're interested in that, just type the word auction below, or if you're listening to the podcast, head over to YouTube, type the word auction or Tax Lien Certificate School. There'll be a link below. So shoot us a message if you're interested in that. If not, no worries, and we will see you tomorrow.